Okay. Okay. Hey, so we are here with one of our favorite lenders. My name is Shelly Valdez, and I'm with Century 21 Shelltown team.
And I am Michelle Urbanowski, and I am as well the other half of Shelltown team. And yes, we are with one of our favorite lenders.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Good morning, ladies. This is Kevin Miller Coe with Asset Financial Center. I am a direct lender and broker in both Florida and California. And we are on today to talk about some specific programs that may help both buyers and sellers navigate this remarkably unusual and challenging market we're in at the moment.
Very challenging.
And the good news is
it's confusing for people, I think,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
It is confusing. And I think by educating some of our sellers and buyers on what programs are available and how things can come together that can benefit both sides, there are still deals to be made. There are great deals to be had. And it is possible, even in this market, to get to a place where we are effectively benefiting both the seller and the buyer. So we're here to talk about that today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So you had told me that you were going to fill us in on some different products or different types of lending that you could help them with.
Yes.
Number one, obviously, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the rates. I mean, everybody's talking about the rates.
Yes.
I think that's what we're all trying to overcome when we're talking with a buyer, right?
Yes. And I think it's important that we face this elephant straight on. These are the highest rates that we have had since 2002. And they have also gone up the quickest in U.S. history.
Yes.
Obviously, a year ago, the three of us were working deals actively with rates in the low threes, maybe even the twos, depending on the structure. And literally overnight, literally overnight, we're now in the sevens, right? And so depending on the
that's more than doubled in a year.
Yes.
That's more than doubled. So,
and what that's done, of course, is that has lowered the buying power of the buyers, right? And obviously sidelined some of those buyers, which has put pressure on the sellers to effectively sell maybe at the price they need, or certainly the price they want, right?
Absolutely.
And oftentimes buyers and sellers are behind the curve on what the economy and the market and our industry is telling them. And they may be stuck 6 months in the past where their expectations are still, hey, we're going to be able to get this done at this number, when that may not be the case. So then it puts a lot of pressure on agents, super agents like the two of you, and me as a lender to re-educate our buyers and sellers to navigate this in real time.
And I just have to interrupt you, because that is one of the things that I do always try to mention, is that the reason why we were having the prices that their neighbors got, at the beginning of this year and last year, was because there was multiple offers and people were bidding above and beyond the listing price. So when we take that away, that does make an effect on, the price that we have to price something nowadays.
And we are continually, we love to educate our clients and families that we work with, and to have them understand it's not as a frenzy as it was, but homes are sitting on the market just a bit longer, and
a little bit though, nothing crazy. I mean, it's just basically going back to normal, right, Kevin?
Yes, it's stabilizing. That's what I
Yes, and these types of changes are more typical in terms of the cyclical nature of the real estate business. And I don't think it has to be a bad thing. Now, rates sustained at a 7% level are not a great thing. And I also don't anticipate that being the case. With that said, if any broker or lender or loan officer in my space tells a client what rates are going to look like in a month or 3 months or 6 months, I always say you should be running the other way. We're all guessing. A lot of the conventional wisdom we've all relied on has kind of been thrown out the window since COVID. And we are maybe now normalizing, but we're not exactly sure exactly where we're going to land and when. But this is not going to be a sustainable level for rates for a long period of time. So it's also important that buyers know that. They may be looking for their forever home. This is probably not their forever loan. And once they start to understand that we can structure things to bridge this gap, they can take advantage of what may be some decent opportunities in the market even now, right?
So how exactly can you help them do that?
What do you have those opportunities?
In a typical sense, conventional wisdom is you go out and you buy a home as a seller, and to get into a comfort level in terms of your payment, you may want to buy down your rate in the normal sense, where if it's a 7%, maybe you'll buy it down to 6.5%, just to mitigate some of those monthly expenses. And a lot of times buyers are willing to fork out the money to buy those rates down. When you're at 7%, however, where you can buy down to is still not enough to make a significant difference in your monthly payment, and it may keep you sidelined from shopping at all. Because remember, at the same time, they're getting all of this incoming data from social media platforms, from the news, from the headlines in the paper, wherever you get your information, that basically the sky is falling.
Yes.
And the real estate market's going to be driving off a cliff, and rates are going to be at 10%, et cetera.
We're all
Well,
gonna crash.
Getting everybody
Yes.
scared and
Right.
yes.
not thinking
So-
properly. Yeah.
I'm working overtime trying to educate buyers and sellers on what the truth is. These are high levels. They're not going to stay here forever. So my focus is to structure deals in a way that helps bridge this gap until things are normalized. The normal buy down situation that I just mentioned is not very effective right now for the reasons I just said. We're already too high of a level. So we're looking at temporary buy downs as a really, really nice fix.
Okay.
And I'm going to explain what that is. They're called 3-2-1s or 2-1s or 1-0 buy downs, where let's take, for example, a 2-1 buy down. We can create a situation where for the first year of a new 30-year fixed mortgage, your payment will be based on an interest rate 2% lower than your note rate. So say if you're at 6.99 today, you'll start for the first year at 4.99. The second year would be at 5.99. Then the start of the third year would be at the note rate of 6.99. Knowing full well the goal would be between now and the end of that 2-1 period, you may have an opportunity to refinance into something more reasonable for the long-term, budgeting that a family may need to employ for the purposes of a loan.
Okay.
A 2-1 buy down or any temporary buy down has to be paid for by the seller. So one of the first questions I always get from agents is, well, that's a tough sell. These people are already lowering their prices. They may be expecting more than they're going to get. And on top of it, now you have a buyer coming in and asking for a huge seller credit to pay for that 2-1 buy down, right? However, it doesn't have to be that you come in lower and ask for that seller credit. Part of the negotiation process is to structure that deal in a way that helps both sides, right?
Absolutely.
So if it means raising your offer price a little bit to meet them in the middle, the seller credit's then introduced by the seller, right? And everyone's happy. The seller's going to be selling the home at a reasonable value. The buyers are off the sideline knowing full well they've got 2 years and in some cases 3 years at a reduced interest rate until there's an opportunity to refinance.
Absolutely, yes.
What's the best part of a temporary buy down like this situation, besides the massive monthly savings by reducing your interest rate by 2 or 3% the first year, is whatever portion of that is not utilized by the seller, right? Meaning there's a seller credit to pay for this buy down. Let's say it's $10,000. Let's say Kevin calls his client in 8 months and says, my gosh, rates are back at 5.5 or 4.99. I think this is a great time to refinance. On a normal buy down, if you refinance out of that loan, whatever you pay for that buy down is gone, right?
Yes.
That loan's going to get sold. You're going to have a new loan that you're refinancing at new terms. Temporary buy down does not work that way. Whatever portion of that benefit is left over gets credited back to the new owner. To the buyer.
I love that. Okay.
Right?
I have not heard
So-
that before. So
Say you've only
educating us.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
right. So say you've only utilized $4,000 of that 10 as a benefit, $6,000 will be credited back to you as that buyer, right? As a reduction in the payoff for the loan that you're refinancing.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
Right. So there's no lose for the
Right.
buyer.
True.
Okay.
If there's no problem refinancing, they're going to get that benefit in the end. And so it's protected value regardless of what they do with that loan. Right.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So as a realtor, what you guys need to know is the general cost for these buy downs. And you've heard me say 2-1 and 3-2-1.
Yes.
A 3-2-1 is massive help to a seller. You're talking 3% off that rate for the first year, 2% off that rate for the second, and 1% off that rate for the third.
Mhm.
We're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars of savings in monthly payments
Mhm.
on day one, right?
Yeah.
So if you're at 699 now, you're at 399. We haven't been at 399 in a year,
Right.
True.
right?
Yeah.
And in a normal market, it may be 5 years before you see 399. 499 for the second year, still way under market averages now.
Yes.
This is a huge help. The key is understanding that the realtors for both seller representation and buyer representation must work together to structure these deals to help both sides.
Yes.
Mhm.
And as
Yeah.
soon as you explain to a seller, hey, they may bump their offer a little bit, we're going to meet them halfway on this seller credit. They're going to buy the house because they're going to get it for 3.99 their first year, and
Yep.
everybody's happy.
Yep.
The key is you need to introduce a program like this from the beginning, right?
Mhm.
It needs to be included in the discussions as soon as you enter negotiations so that that education can begin, so they can start to understand how this is benefiting everybody, right?
Mhm.
I have seen this. I have 12 purchase loans in my pipeline right now that are closing in November. All 12 of them have a 2-1 buy down attached to them
Wow, that's
because
great.
we've talked to the realtors
Yep.
That is,
ahead of the offer,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
everyone was on the same page. The one thing I'll say about that is really important and why agents like you are so effective in this space. The agents are typically, you have sellers agents, and their job, their fiduciary responsibility is to protect the interests of the seller.
Mhm.
You have the buyer's agent, and they're focused on getting the best deal they can for a buyer. And then you have the loan officer that's just making sure the metrics work that a loan can get through.
Mhm.
Those days are over. It requires the seller's agent, the buyer's agent, and the loan officer to come together and work
Mhm.
on these things in tandem. During COVID, that wasn't necessary. You listed the house. There were 10 offers. You picked one. One thing that may make a difference is a lender like me who can get a loan done in a week when most people couldn't, right? May help that offer process. But everyone's in their silos and they're getting it done and they're protecting the interests of their clients, and then we go on our merry way. This requires more coordination on the front end.
Okay.
And when people understand that, we're finding, I have 12 under contract right now, 10 of those 12 are in Florida. It's because people were educated when they started the process and they knew this was coming, and they were able to wrap their head around why it's a benefit.
Okay.
So
Right?
it takes cooperation, it takes communication,
From
all the things
all-
that I know that we pride ourselves
Yes.
on. But I think for me, always working with somebody like you, one of the things that I brag about is that you are an out of the box thinker.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely
With-
am an out of the box thinker. I know Michelle is
Yes,
as well.
yeah.
So that's why we work so well together, and we
Yes.
have always done whatever we needed to do to get
Mhm.
the job done. And I have seen you close a loan. I think it was 5 days. Did we do a 5-day close or
We were clear to close in 5 days on a
Yes.
VA loan
a VA loan,
Mhm.
which was
with a buyer who is
Unheard
currently
of.
living in South Korea.
Korea? Yes.
And we got the loan done before the federal 7-day requirement of a
Yeah.
waiting period before they could even sign.
Wow.
And then this is
Right.
why we always refer to you, Kevin.
Yes, and
because
we partner with you. And I remember over the summer during that frenzy, I had some buyers where, we were, trying to compete with, the multiple offers on any home. And Kevin was able to get my buyers through the process so much quicker. They were, days and days ahead of all the other competing offers. And that pushed them ahead, and they're living in the home now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And you know what I always say, and with you guys, this is a prime example that real estate success for our clients and ourselves is centered completely in communication.
Yes.
And if we have to pick up the phone to solve a problem, we will. As both of you know, if you make an offer for one of your clients, I'm picking up the phone and talking to the listing agent.
Yes, you are.
I'm answering their questions directly. I'm conveying to that listing agent the strength of our buyer and why I can get it done in a week or 10 days or whatever the circumstances are, if it's helpful,
And
right?
he's done it many times.
absolutely.
And will
Yes.
continue to do it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So in this market, that stuff is even more critical. It may take your lender to pick up the phone and explain to the listing agent
Mhm.
why it's a good idea to look at this 2-1 buy down, right?
Mhm.
And where do we need to be to make this work for everybody, knowing that that seller credit must come from the seller to pay
Yeah.
for it,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Just pick up the phone. That's half the battle. We have to educate, we have to communicate, and we have to navigate. So doing that successfully gets everyone on the same page and gets deals done.
That's right. Absolutely. And
So in terms of the 3-2-1 and 2-1 program, there's an exact figure that corresponds to the cost of that program. That has to be a seller credit that is specific for that purpose, right? And it's a to the penny amount, and the amount equals the benefit over the 2 or 3 year term.
Okay.
For you guys, when you're talking to buyers or sellers in this case, or if you're a seller's agent and you're interested in looking at including this program as an incentive to bring buyers to the table.
Definitely more marketable. Definitely.
Yes. Keep in mind this: 2.25% on a 2-1, 4.5% on a 3-2-1 is the cost in general. Okay. You'll call me for the exact cost of the addendum for the seller credit is perfect, but just in terms of negotiating, 2.25% for a 2-1 buy down, 4.5% for a 3-2-1 buy down.
Okay.
And why is the 3-2-1 buy down double?
Price.
That third year.
Yeah.
Right. That first year with a 3% is double the 2-1 benefit. Right.
Yeah.
You have 3% lower on year 1 and then a 2-1.
Right.
So it's double the cost, but you're giving someone 3 years of runway to weather the storm of these crazy rates.
Yes.
Right. And get into a better long-term refinance at some point in the next 3 years or some point in the next 2 years.
It's nothing better than lowering anxiety during real estate transactions. And I actually have 2 listings coming up very soon, this week, next week, where I'm going to start marketing and advertising regarding that, because we want buyers.
Absolutely.
You know,
yes.
So let's talk about that. So this is what I have tested both in California and Florida that's working. And this is a suggestion. You guys are experts in your field, and I would never tell you how to do your job. This is just food for thought based on what other people have done that has really, really worked. Sometimes agents will put in the confidential notes for other agents, hey, my seller may be willing to look into a 2-1 buy down for the buyer, lowering their interest rate by 2 or 3% for that first year, as an incentive for bringing them to the table. That is a mistake. That information needs to be in the MLS notes that populate all of the platforms.
Okay.
You don't want the agent knowing that. The buyers need to know that.
Yes.
So what we've seen agents doing now is, and again, you guys may already be doing this, but I'm just, food for thought. Seller could offer up to a 3% reduction in your interest rate on a temporary buy down if they're using their preferred lender, for example, right? Because that has to be, not all lenders offer these.
Exactly.
So it has to be someone that offers it. So if you've already got someone in the tent that already has the math associated with that house for everyone to utilize, it may be worth having them talk to that preferred lender, like me. Of course, that benefits me, but it doesn't have to be me. But having the information in the actual MLS listing notes, right?
Yes.
It makes all the difference. You want people scrolling through Zillow, through Realtor.com, through Redfin, and seeing this seller is offering a way for me to start with an interest rate 3% less than the market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if
That's
they're
an $800 on a $400,000 house. That's up to an $800 difference.
and if they're currently renting, they can probably buy a house for less than they're renting at this point in time with using this strategy. So that's another plus if people are thinking about that. So
Shelley, that's such a great point. I would probably have more minutes of conversations with buyers right now, helping them understand why even in this market, it never pencils to rent. Very rarely would it pencil to rent. Here's why.
It's 100%.
People forget a third or half of your mortgage payment you're paying yourself because you're paying down principal, which is adding equity to your home that you own.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And the interest you're paying is deductible on most people's tax returns. When you rent, it's gone. It's all gone.
You're paying somebody else's mortgage down.
Exactly.
You're having someone else benefit from that principal reduction and that interest expense deduction instead of yourself. And we can actually do the math, and I will for buyers. After the 11th month, when you look at a year-on-year 60-year average, real estate appreciates 5% a year every year. I don't care what cycles you have. If you own a home for 5 years or longer, your appreciation is typically 5%. So if you compound that 5% appreciation with the tax benefits and the principal reduction, there's virtually no situation where renting makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now with a 3-2-1 or a 2-1 buy down, we can start you at a rate that was like we're rewinding the world a year.
Yes.
Why in the world would you not move on something now?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you?
Well,
So
especially after hopefully watching this video and being educated on it, and knowing, hopefully buyers will now know that there is an
Yes.
alternative to just paying the high rates that are out there right now. So
Yes.
so we really appreciate you taking time and spending it with us, and
Yeah, thank you.
educating us as well as everybody else.
Yeah,
right.
and we will now educate our clients and kind of move forward and ease everybody's anxiety just a little bit.
and we have ways to do that.
Yes,
That's
we
right.
do.
Yes,
And you
yes,
know
we
where
do.
to find me, and I'm happy to help anytime.
Absolutely. Well, thank
Thank
you so much,
you.
Kevin, and we will definitely be talking soon then.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take
bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye. Okay, hold on. All right. I don't know. Is that reactions? You're gonna ship this.
How do you turn off this shit?
Hold on.
I can't see.
She
the
didn't.
stuff.
She didn't turn off. I'll edit that part out. Okay.
You better.